And good morning, everybody. Good morning to all our physical and non-physical participants today, to all the guests, to all the players, to everybody who is deciding to join us now and who is here with us now and who will be here with us later at a later time because you also are here. Of course, Michael. And here we are, of course, we are here straight away. Alex was going to do a little speech this morning, but we decided to play a little game, a little trick on her because she chooses, and she does play a lot of tricks on us all day long. She tries to trick us in funny ways. What it makes for a very, very joyful, it makes for a very, very playful relationship. And going back to this morning and welcoming you all here. We are here, we are walking in joy with you. We are walking in joy, being with you, enjoying our time with you, with all of you around the globe, wherever you are, whatever timeline you are, at whatever time you are deciding to join with us here. You are here now, present in this reality, with joy, with feeling, with love, with self-love, with self-acceptance. And yes, here I am, Alex. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for jumping in, for surprising me in this way. So I've had a wonderful morning already. I've played with the birds outside in the garden. It was a gorgeous sunrise this morning here. This week seems like a little bit quieter. It wasn't so intense energetically because it feels like since that time when we stepped into the new, it was around the time of the eclipses. I have noticed quite a bit of a difference in how I can do things, in how quickly I can step into being all of that I am and step into my own self. And all of the distractions haven't sort of had as much power. Like haven't had as many challenges as before, just to be in the now. So as soon as I remember to be here, as soon as I remember to be present, I am. I don't have to breathe. I haven't had to, sort of go for big walks. Not that I don't enjoy them. I do enjoy them, but it's like at any time, at any moment, this reality of being here is very present. It's very easy to step into it. So even if I got distracted by all sorts of distractions that were around me, it's not really hard to do. It's not hard to step. It's not hard to breathe. It's not hard to be here in my presence. So welcome again, everybody. And welcome to all of the birds that I can watch. I'm looking out into the garden right now. And my garden's gorgeous. It's green, even though like a lot of the country, a lot of this continent is experiencing drought. We haven't had any issues in this area yet with the weather so far. But it is a time of the year where, well, it is winter here, and it is the time of the year where we do get it's called a dry season. So everything does go a little bit brown, the grasses, but the days are very clear. There are no clouds, the clear skies, and this is where we get a lot of tourists, a lot of people from all over the world that come and visit here. A lot of young people, a lot of people with camper vans, a lot of older people, retired Australian people that have chosen to, switch from the house into the camper van, and then they travel every year. They come up at this time, so you've got rows and rows of caravans leading up to this area because the weather, it's not rainy, it's not hot, it's sort of like a very moderate, it's like the European summer kind of thing. For us locals, of course, it is cold, a little bit cold at night, and it has been quite a cool winter. So this is one of the things, cooler than what we're used to. So this is one of the things that a lot of people seem to be dealing with at the moment. So it's all these great changes of the weather, and it would be easy to panic. It would be easy to start sort of looking on, sort of looking at everything with fear. But dear ones, do not fear these changes, because this is part of the natural process. It is just like you when you were awakening, when you had to clear a lot of stuff. There were a lot of energies, a lot of aspects, a lot of parts of you that had to be cleared, that were sort of, creating a bit of havoc in your life. And it's very similar with the earth. The earth is clearing all these ancient, old energies are releasing. And at this time, it's even hard for you to imagine what kind of the world is coming, what kind of the world is being created, because as a human you have not ever experienced this. It's beyond your wildest imaginations. But it does require all the cleaning, and it does require all the releasing, and it does require for humanity, for Earth to go through a little bit of a turmoil, a little bit of drama, a little bit of lots of issues, as you know, that come up. But we, the masters, we can sail through all of these things. We have done our work, and now we reap the benefits. And we would invite you to enjoy every day, and we would invite you to step into your power every day, and we would invite you to exercise and practice and use your ability to be present, to be in joy, to navigate through this reality without any issues, to enjoy your day. You are not beholden to anybody. You do not have to experience drama. You do not have to experience fear, even though you can feel fear. You can feel all of these things. You can feel the arguments, the anger, the resentment, all of these things around you. But dear ones, you don't have to identify with this, and you don't have to step into this, because you have done your work, and you keep doing your work, because you are the brave ones. You are the courageous ones. You are the ones that are creating the templates to make it easier, to make this path easier for everybody else that will choose to follow you, because all of the different templates will be there for them to follow, to do, to live. And yet you are the one who went into the unknown. You are the one that walk into the unknown every day, because the templates that you're creating have not been there before. They have not been lived. They have not been done before. You are the first ones, dear ones, and you are the pioneers. And we honor you so. And we honor your courage. And you know that you wouldn't have it any other way, because you enjoy being at the forefront. You enjoy being this creator. You enjoy going into the new. You enjoy the challenge. And you can pat yourself on the back, because, dear ones, you have done so well. You have done an amazing job. And you still are. You amaze us every day. Every day we look forward to playing with you. And we are like little children. We're waiting for you to wake up. And when you're sleeping, and we giggle and we wait for you to wake up so that we can play with you in this reality. Because for us, it is also a new reality. We have not played in here before. Not like this, because you are allowing us to be with you, to be part of you, to be part of your everyday experiences, to be part of your everyday life as it is. And as we step into this life, as you allow us in, you know that everything expands, and all of the different perspectives come into the being. So everything becomes multidimensional, and sometimes the human self does have a little bit of trouble getting used to this, because there is no one truth in this reality anymore. And you need to take care as to whose voice you are speaking with, from whose perspective. And you can play with this. You can play with this throughout your day, with every event, with everything that you are participating with. You can sort of play with this so that you can see how reality is very fluid. You are very fluid, and you allow yourself to be very fluid. You can be playful with this. And just look at all the different perspectives that you can be all of the different parts that you can be in any one moment, and that you can look at anything from so many different perspectives. It is not only from one side, the human, and one side, the soul. There are so many different parts that you can call upon and play with, and look at their perspective and what they have to say and what they feel as you participate with things. Because this is what will give you joy and playfulness, and uh, the ability to just enjoy every moment, to enjoy your life, to be amazed at what is. And it will open more and more and more of the doors to yourself. More and more of yourself it will be able to be here with you. All these different multidimensional parts of yourself. And all of this will help you in a way that you can't even imagine at this present time. Because, dear ones, remember, we together have been around for a very, very long time. We have parts of ourselves that have experienced everything and anything. And you can utilize this in everyday life. You can have fun with this. Perhaps learn a new instrument, for example, and call upon the part that is already a master at this. Because, dear ones, we do have masters at music. We have masters at painting. We have masters at everything. And call upon this part and play with this part and ask this part to teach you how to be a musician, And you will see how easy it is to just put this mantle on, just to act, just to step into this role and be this role. Because, dear ones, this also is you. You are and we are a multidimensional being. And there are so many everyday uses to this. You can play with this, practice, experiment, and see what happens. You can download all this different knowledge, ancient knowledge, future knowledge, because remember, we do not live in time. We are outside of time. We created time. And all of this will help you to navigate this reality, and will help you to navigate the fears of mass consciousness with playfulness and with joy. Because you no longer have to resolve and take on the issues of others. And we know that for some of you, you may still have challenges with this, to be able to let other people be, to be able to let other people to experience the consequences of their choices. Because it is only in this way that they will be able to come to a place where they can choose something better or not. And it is not up to you to have to carry their burdens, because by taking on their burdens, you do not resolve anything, because they also have their own relationship with their own eternal self. And they also have all the power and the self-empowerment within themselves, and the ability to awaken, and the ability to walk with their eternal self, just like you are. So do not take this right away from them, because by taking on other people's burdens, you may think that you are lightening their load, especially if they are the close ones, especially if they are family members. But in the long run, you are not helping them, because you are taking away their self-responsibility, the ability for them to choose, to decide what to do with their life, their self-empowerment. So all we keep repeating this, but it bears repeating one more time, that all you need to do is radiate, to enjoy your own self, dear ones. And we do know that it can be a challenge at times when other people are going through the difficulties, and yet there you are beaming, enjoying, feeling yourself, having this wonderful, amazing well-being underneath it all, not being touched by it all. And some people may think that you're magic, or that you're pretending. The people will think all sorts of different things. And unfortunately, dear ones, ordinary people will project a lot of things, and they do project a lot of things onto you. And this is just part of being in this place with all these different kinds of levels of consciousnesses. And it has to do also with with creating your own sovereign space, because it is within this sovereign space that you can be this radiant being, that and it is with this that you do the greatest service to this area, to this place, to this planet called Earth, because you are bringing in the fine, amazing energies, vibrations that have never been here before. And this is the greatest service that you can do to Earth at this time. But that means that you will not be liked by everyone. And this is, for some people, for some of you, for some of us, including Alex, it is one of the biggest challenges to realize that you may not be liked by others, not by everyone. Some people may love you, but not everyone, because not everyone is ready and not everyone wants to awaken. And not everyone wants your radiance, because they draw benefit from being in drama. They draw benefit, or they fear change for whatever reason. And or whatever reasons there are, it is their own reasons. But it bears to remember that walking in this plane, you will encounter all sorts of different people. You will encounter all sorts of different situations. And more often than not, the energies coming from outside of you are not pleasant. And we are just reminding you that creating that sovereign space, that creating your ability to be uncompromising with how you feel, with deciding how you feel, with being in your space, with being in the now moment, with not shading your radiance, with not clouding your radiance on behalf of others, is what you have a right to do, to do. You do not have to adapt to others, although there comes also a time where you can turn up or down the volume, because if you do also want to play with others, if you want to be with others, with ordinary people, with people who may not have ever stepped out of their mind, you can turn the dial on the volume of your intensity, and we work with that. We work with you in this way. We do step back, because we are aware of other people and we are aware of where they are. And we also are aware of the greatest assistance that we can be energetically to them. And we also want to work with you so that you don't have a difficult time throughout the day. Walking in this challenging environment. So you can turn the volume of your radiance up and down. It doesn't diminish anything you do, because it just means that you are adapting to your environment. You're playing with your environment. So how you navigate your everyday, it is completely up to you. There are so many different options, and we would like to talk about this fluidity of being. Where being this multidimensional self, it means that there really is no set structure as to who you are. There are no set walls as to who you are. And if you can imagine yourself sitting next to the river, next to the water, and feel the water for a moment. Feel how pliable it is, how fluid it is, how it adapts and changes to everything, to every shape. And yet it's still completely itself. It never changes its structure. It still is water. It doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter what the shape it takes when it navigates the landscape of its path. It is still water, and regardless of whether it embraces the stone, the fallen tree, your body when you go swimming, it still stays the water. And this is something that will serve you to be like the water, will serve you immensely, because It is the joy of being this being that is so many different parts. You are not stuck into any one of the roles. You are not, even if you are in a female body, you are not a woman only. If you are in a male body, you're not a male only. You are whole. We have together been males and females. We have been all these different roles we have played, and you can call upon all of these different parts of yourself to be with you, to be you. And underneath it all, you always are yourself, because you feel that presence of I am that I am, who is everything and is nothing. And you can be this pliable, and you can be like water, because then, dear ones, you can change, you can adapt, you can be so many things in one day, in 1 minute, in 1 hour. And this is what it means to be multidimensional. This is what it means to be so many different parts of yourself, because you are not one. And you can take the different perspectives of all these different parts of you, and you can play with that, and you can be that, and you can allow them. And this is what you bring to this reality, this flexibility, this fluidity. Because, dear ones, as you allow yourself to be all these different parts, it is also how you create your reality, because you are not then stuck within one way of being. So if you feel yourself stuck in any part of your life, be fluid, bring that fluidity into that part of yourself that has built those walls, because out of those walls, out of those hard walls that you have built, you are creating that particular reality out of. And that is why your reality on the outside is not moving, because those walls inside of you are not moving. So try that, play with that. Put on all these different mantles and see and play and be. And not only in what you call the positive sides, like play with this, be playful with this. Don't be serious, because it is the mind that keeps you serious. It is the mind, because for the mind, it has been such a long road to create certain things. For example, perhaps you see yourself as a successful business person, perhaps you see yourself as a professional in a certain profession. And for the mind now to sort of jump into the childlike wonder of naivety, for example, it would be like giving up all those years of hard work that you've put into being this serious professional. And yet you still have access to that. You can put the mantle of a serious professional at any time you want. And yet this is not all you are. Because if you keep wearing the mantle of a serious professional, for example, then your reality will reflect that. And then if you are bored with playing that role, you will need to be fluid. You will need to allow this fluidity to be you, to be inside of you, so that you can bring another reality to your life, to your experience. And as you play with this, it is quite a lot of fun. You won't know what to do with yourself in this way, because so much becomes then available to you. Not just one way of being, not just one reality. You can be so many different things, and you are so many different things. And all of this is accessible to you every day, every minute. All you do is just step into all these different ways of being. And it is also, we notice that some people do get stuck in this way. One moment, and just have a bit of coffee. Some people get stuck with being this one only. And it is also why some people haven't noticed that the timelines have changed, especially around the eclipses. There was an option, there was a choice, there was a window where you can step into a completely new. And some people have stepped into the new, and yet they don't realize because they are still wearing the same mantle that they wore before. So their reality hasn't changed much because remember, you are the creator. So whatever you are radiating, it is what your reality will reflect. And sometimes that can be a stretch from jumping from one to the other, and it can take your physical reality some time to adapt to that. And sometimes we notice that you jump from one reality to another very quickly. So the physical reality doesn't have the time to change. For example, let's say if you're playing with the abundance and you want to be more abundant, put on the mantle of an abundant person, and we see you do that. And yet, because you don't quite believe that this is you don't take on that mantle for a long time, for long enough time for your reality to reflect that. So you shift from one to the other. And we encourage you to play with that more and to remind yourself and to just do it, to just believe it, because this is possible. And the only way it will be possible in your life is if you actually do it. You have nothing to lose. So when you decide to be someone else, put on that mantle. And we don't mean someone else by being unauthentically you, by not being authentically you. We mean by being another part of you. Because when you are so many different multidimensional facets, who are you really? Who are you really? You are so many different beings. You are so many different aspects and facets. And yet you still are very uniquely you. And the more you play with this, the more you will realize it's almost like a contradiction in a lot of the things in this new way of being would seem a contradiction to your mind, because the more you play with this, the more you are you. Because one would think that the more you play, the more parts you are, the more you allow yourself to be all these different parts, that you will lose yourself. But no, dear ones, because underneath you are, I am that I am, and we are that we are always. And when that feeling is underneath everything you do, you don't lose yourself. You do not lose yourself like you have when you came to this physical reality, when you forgot who you were. And then you allowed yourself to be stuck in the hardness of this reality. You've created certain walls, and then you thought that you were just those walls, that you were just that one being. And this is what has kept you stuck. It was not anything from outside. It was not some aliens. It was not another being that kept you stuck. You allowed fear to rule you in that space. Because you have built those walls. You have built those walls around your wounded heart. You have built the walls that were unmovable, that were not fluid. And so nothing could enter, not even us. We couldn't enter, we couldn't visit you, we couldn't come and play with you. And that is why the reality what felt so disconnected, and it was. And we remind you of this because we remind you that majority of people are still in that reality. They still feel disconnected. And they feel that that is the only thing that exists, because they don't allow themselves to step out of that. And this is where you come in, your radiance, your being, because everybody can feel that there's something different about you. And everybody knows exactly, even if they don't allow themselves to understand consciously, they know the choice that they have, dear ones. Every person, every single person today on earth comes to this place of choosing what they will choose over and over again, because with us, there is never just a one opportunity. Every person has opportunity over and over and over again to choose themselves, to choose awakening. And that will continue to be so. And even though some people we know that don't like it, you are here. You are here to stay, and you are here as a constant reminder of that choice. And like we said before, not everybody does like that. Not everybody wants to be reminded of that. And yet we are uncompromising, dear ones, in this, because a lot of people do need that. They do need the constant reminder because, as you know, choosing, you have to choose not only once, but you have to keep choosing every day. And as more and more and more of this light, as more and more of this fine vibration is brought here to Earth, everything will keep changing, and the pace of it keeps quickening the pace of change. And for some, it will mean that they will take on more fear, and yet you will be surprised how many others will come out of the blue and ask you and want you to assist them, to help them, whether with advice, whether with direction. They will just want to know, what do you have? Are you a magician? How do you do this? How are you so happy when everything is so sad? When everything looks like there's no hope, and yet you look like you're full of hope. And you are, because you are no longer disconnected. And this is where, dear ones, you can come in and talk to them, and you will know exactly what to say to them. Because they came to you particularly for a reason, because you are the ones who can help them the most. So for all of you that are still trying to keep in the background and trying to hide, maybe have privacy, know that more and more people will be asking you, what is it that you have? And this is when you can help them. And this is where turning up and down the volume will assist you greatly, because you do not have to overwhelm anybody with everything, because the dear ones, you know how it all comes in stages. There are lots of different steps that person has to know, and yet you will know if you are present with them in that moment. You will know exactly what to say, you will know exactly what to do, and be yourself and trust yourself, because you are the ones that they came for help. And we also remind you to keep loving yourself every day more and more and more, and to keep allowing more and more and more of us to hug you, to be with you, to caress you, to be gentle with you. Because gentleness and vulnerability are the greatest strengths, especially in this world that seems so harsh. And it is harsh for so many. It is a place of great suffering for so many. And yet now there is a way out, because you, the courageous one, have found that way out. You have created a template for the way out. And your name, dear ones, your names are celebrated and known throughout the universe. And you would be amazed just at how celebrated you are and what you do. And every day when you go through your mundane things and your mundane daily activities, and you look in a mirror and all you see is yourself, and yet you don't know how your name is sung in so many songs, in so many stories that are told and retold about you, the brave ones, who have found the way out, who have found the way to freedom, out of great sufferings, out of great, great entrapments. And it was not preordained, it was not predestined. And like we mentioned before, there are parts that will not choose this. There are parts inside of you that will not choose this. And again, this also can look at a contradiction, and yet it isn't. Because it is the same way we, Mikhail, we have realized, we have been for a while, long time before you. Each of you, our aspects, have realized, and it's in the same way that you do not need to wait for all of your parts to accept self-love before you are realized. Because just the fact that they are aware of us, that they are aware of eternal self, it is what completely changes the landscape, the inner landscape. The inner landscape of Alex is completely different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when she was playing within that mind and only had short outings out of the box of the mind. Because during that time, the parts, the aspects, the facets of herself were able to say that, yes, we are disconnected. And they were, because we were not present. And now it is completely different, because every single part, every single aspect, every single facet is aware of our present, is aware of choice. And they may not choose to integrate with us, to accept us, to meld with us, for whatever reason, because maybe they feel so betrayed, maybe they want to play in that separation for a bit longer. They may not ever accept self-love. Who knows? Because, dear ones, we like to play in unpredictability. We don't know what different parts will choose, and this is the sovereignty, this is the freedom that we gave to each and every one of our parts. And yet we are realized precisely for this reason, because every part is totally aware, every part is aware of us. Every part can no longer say that they are disconnected, that we don't exist, that we are not there, that we are not always open, that we don't always have open arms to every part that wants to integrate with us, or that wants us to integrate with them. And this is what makes the big difference, and this is the big landscape change. And it is the same with every human being on this earth. Because consciously or unconsciously, they are aware of this choice. Everybody is aware of this choice, whether they want to admit it or not. And some will still run away from this choice. They will bury it deep inside of them, and yet it is their choice, dear ones. And this is why we have reminded you before not to take on other people's burdens that they are creating. Because it is the choice. And for some, especially for women, sometimes it is a very, very challenging act, a very challenging thing to do, to be able to let others be, to be able to let others make their own choices, even if they are not choices that you might like, that you might want for them. But it is practicing being uncompromising in your time, in your space, in your sovereignty, in choosing to love yourself first. That helps them immensely, because by your example, even by your example that you are doing this, they may find the courage to themselves do that as well. Because, and like you, they will also know that fear really is just that. It is just fear. There are not the consequences. The consequences of letting fear go are joy. Because fear would want you to believe that if you don't follow its instructions, something bad is going to happen. And yet quite opposite is the truth. You become joyful when you let the fear go, when you don't follow its instructions, when you don't follow its directions. And now it is that time where you can totally step into that, where you can claim this. And it doesn't have to be just theory. It can be you. It can be your life. It can be your daily existence, this fearless state of being, the uncompromising state of being. And yet at the same time, this is a very gentle state of being, peaceful, quiet state of being. And it can be exuberant because none of these things are exclusive of each other. And we invite you to play with this, to practice this, to see how all of this can be true. How can you be quiet and exuberant and joyful and dancing at the same time? Practice and see what happens. Allow your multidimensional self to be this multidimensional self. Selves with an S, the many, and see just how much you can experience in this one moment and how much you can stretch the one moment of joy into another moment of joy, of sensuality, of experience. And how the many yous of you, many of you, many you of you can experience one moment in so many different ways. In so many different ways that you could talk about one moment, 1 second of your time for eternity, because that is how big you are, that is how grand you are, that is how multifaceted you are. And within all of this, there is this quietness, there is this assuredness, quiet assuredness of yourself. And you are out of control, and yet you are more in control, in a good sense, as ever. But what we mean by that is that you never lose yourself underneath of all of that. You always know who you are, the I am that I am, that we are. And this is the joy of being, the joy of experiencing, the joy of no limitations. And in this way, you are of this world, but not, you are in this world, but not of it. You are here and you are everywhere. And we are with you. Okay, so for those people that are new today, that may be new, we invite you, if you have any questions, there's a Q&A panel where you can type your questions in there, and we will answer them gladly. And we come back. It's me, Alex, now. We've gone somewhere today. Okay, let's have a look if we have some questions. Otherwise, we will just keep going. Okay. We have a question here. I have a real trouble with forgiveness. There are people in my life who have betrayed me and I cannot forgive them. What are your suggestions? All right. So I think it's a very appropriate question for today. Coffee. With what we talked about. And with forgiveness, the thing with forgiveness or any feeling or with anything is to really not, there's no need to focus on the forgiveness of others. There's no need to focus on any of these things. It is about, again, it always comes back to accepting and allowing yourself to be and allowing others to be who they are. And then one day you wake up and you realize, wow, I've forgiven them because I haven't thought about it and I haven't been angry with those people for a long time. And you somehow are able to, like, when you build your self-love, you are then able to just step into these other realities, these other ways of being. So it's not like that you keep forgiving, and then one day you forgive. It is that the non-forgiveness is there, you accept it, you haven't forgiven, you're okay with it, you just let it be, and you still can be joyful. And this is the way of being multidimensional, because all of the different feelings are there, all of the different emotions are there. They don't go away, you're aware of them, especially of the mass consciousness, emotions and fears and all sorts of things. And yet at the same time, you don't need to change them. You don't need to do anything with them. You can just allow them to be. You can allow others to be. And with all of that, you can be joyful. You can choose joy for yourself. You have to keep choosing joy. You have to keep choosing the self-love and allowing that. And one day you'll see that how easy it is to just step from the non-unforgiving part into the forgiving part. And sometimes with the other people, they may change your relationship with you, or they may not. You may have to let them go from your life. It doesn't matter. Um, but the basis of everything, and we cannot stress this enough, is this self-love. And for those of you that practice, you know that that basically resolves everything. And the reason why it resolves everything is because when you're open to self-love, you raise your vibration, you make your vibration closer to our vibration, to your eternal self's vibration. And then we are able to blend with you. And when we blend with you, we bring with us that multidimensionality, that multi-resolving of everything. And everything changes, and also your unforgiveness changes. And being in this way does not mean that the uncomfortable feel, because this is where there is a little bit of a misunderstanding of this, because people have a tendency to think that when you are joyful, when you are realized, when you are in self-love, that all of those other so-called uncomfortable feelings will not be there. But this is not the case. And it is what also we talked about the parts that may never accept, that may never allow the eternal self to blend with them. And this may be the same with this unforgiving part, the part that does not want to forgive. And it is okay, because being the multidimensional you, it means that you can be all of these things at the same time. You do not identify with the part that is unforgiving. And yet that part is still there, and you just let it be there, because that part is now totally aware that at any moment that it chooses, it can step into the self-love. And at the same time, that part does not control you. So in this way, you don't actually have to do anything about it. You don't have to make yourself or force yourself to forgive before you can feel the self-love, before you can feel the joy, before you can enjoy your life. Because otherwise, anyone will be waiting forever, because this is not what this new reality is about. The new reality, you exist among all of these different energies, and yet they slowly go into the background because you don't identify with them. But they're still there. Some of them will change into the neutral, some won't. And it doesn't matter, because you have stepped out of their reality. You have stepped out of identifying with them. You have stepped out of creating your reality out of those parts. And this is one of the most important things that will bring change, is this identifying with the parts. So as we said, dear ones, do not worry, do not concern yourself, do not try to force a change on this part of yourself that is unforgiving. Realize that you are a multidimensional part of self, and feel this I am that I am, this who you are underneath, who is not forgiving or forgiving, but just is. You just are. And out of this place, then you can make the choice, this kind of choices where you identify with whom and what you choose to identify with. And then you step out of this unforgiving part. You let it be. You allow self-love. You keep allowing self-love. And you will see that part won't bother you anymore. And that part won't create your reality for you anymore, because you have accepted it. You haven't tried to change it. You haven't tried to force it. And it's this kind of acts that create a completely different landscape within you. It is an accepting landscape, because even though that part that is unforgiving may not have accepted self-love, It has been forever changed by your acceptance of it. It has been forever changed by its awareness that at any moment it can choose to integrate into the eternal self. So it is in this way that you work with all of your parts. And you will find that as you go around your day, especially if you sort of, let's say you live in a city, you walk around, you will feel all sorts of very, very uncomfortable energies as you walk past people. And you will have to practice this on the ongoing basis. It is how you can navigate this reality by not identifying with all these uncomfortable parts. And yet they will very much be there. And by allowing yourself to be who you are, allowing your eternal self to blend with you, you will notice that all of your senses become much sharper and they get different dimensions. So you will be more and more and more aware of all of these different energies. And many of the energies, like for example, you can even smell them. You can go around the shopping center and you can smell them, the energies. And they are, for most part, not very pleasant because people are very stuck, and the stuck energies are not pleasant to the senses. And the main thing for you to do is, because those energies will try to pull you into by trying to blend with the part of you that can relate with them. So for example, let's say if you walk around the shopping center and all of a sudden you feel very fearful. So what has happened is that you've stepped into the fear of mass consciousness. The part of you that has in the past felt fear has quickly, was very quick to perhaps take on that fear. You've identified again with that fearful part, and all of a sudden you're afraid. But for you, the master, it is very easy now to let go of that, because all you do is take a few deep breaths. You allow your I am that I am, the presence, the eternal self, the awareness of that. You allow that part to blend with you, to meld with you, and you step out of the reality of the fear. Practice this, dear ones. Dear one, practice this with your fearful part, and you will see it will no longer bother you. It will not even be an issue. Forgiving or unforgiving, is not an issue at all. The issue is whether you are self-loving to yourself, whether you are allowing self-love regardless of what other parts of yourself are feeling. Thank you, dear one. Okay, we will see if we have any more questions. No, we're pretty good. And so we might finish then for today. And we would just like to again stress just how wonderfully, wonderfully joyful we are to be here present on this beautiful planet, to be able to watch the sunrise. And we so enjoy the sunrises and the sunsets and the changing of colors and playing with the clouds, as we know that you do as well. And just the simplicity of life that is so rich, that is so sensuous, that is so inviting, that is so healthy, that gives you this amazing glow. And all of the distractions, they keep falling off. They keep falling off slowly and slowly but surely. And they don't have not any more power over you, less and less every day. Because you have tasted this richness of well-being, of your own self, the well-being, the continual flow, this river that continuously flows. And it is not, the tap is never closed again. You wouldn't be able to close it even if you tried. Because, dear ones, we are here with you, and we're enjoying this reality with you, and we walk with you. And we keep stretching with you. And we know that as a human, sometimes you don't enjoy this stretching very much. Just constantly stepping into the unknown, constantly stepping into being more, being bigger than you thought you were. And we have such joy watching you when you step into something new, and then you realize, wow, this was easy. Why didn't I do this before? And we love you so, and we want to hug you, and we want to remind you every single day: dance, love, hug, play with people, play with nature, play with life. Be the joy, because it is time, dear ones. It is time to claim this. Regardless of whatever circumstances that you think you are in that cannot be resolved, dear ones, just be joyful and step and claim to be who you are and walk in that. Every day, walk knowing that you are eternal, forever. The Creator, the beautiful Creator, just at the beginning of this most wondrous journey of creating the new worlds. The worlds that will be built in this self-respect and self-love, and just how different those worlds are. And you can feel them already. And you can feel them now. You get the whiffs of the scent, the beautiful, gorgeous scent of this new world that is already right here, dear ones. Breathe it in and be it and claim it. And you will see how amazing every day changes as you work from that reality, as you work from the reality of the new you, the new self, the new world. Thank you, dear ones. And we thank everyone for being here with us, and we look forward to playing with you more in this way. Thank you. Bye-bye.